If you just look around today, it feels like we live in an age that, well, it absolutely worships the new.
Oh, completely. New platforms, new tech, new influencers popping up every single second.
Yeah, and there's this deep belief that because the technology is fresh, our problems must be totally new too.
And that right there, that assumption, it's probably the most costly one you can make. The sources we've been looking at, they highlight this kind of brutal irony.
Which is,
Well, that almost everything that tanks people today, financial ruin, companies imploding, just making awful life choices, it's already happened.
like, exactly the same way.
Often in the exact same sequence, yeah.
Yeah, too.
To thousands, millions of people before us. The names change, the context shifts a bit, but the basic human patterns, they just don't.
And recognizing that so much of this is just a rerun, that's the ultimate shortcut, isn't
Yeah.
it? That's pure Charlie Munger.
Straight from Munger. He wasn't subtle about it at all. He basically said there's no better teacher than history in all its forms, period.
He saw history not as, like, a list of dates and kings, but as, what? Humanity's honest mirror.
Exactly. The honest mirror. Not the filtered Instagram version of ourselves, but who we really are when the pressure's on, when greed or fear or just plain chaos hits.
Okay, so our mission today for this deep dive is to really get into why Munger was so insistent that learning from history isn't just, nice to have.
It's not academic, it's fundamental. It's about survival, really, and gaining this incredibly powerful mental leverage.
Because if you ignore that mirror, that history, you're not being modern. You're just flying blind.
Completely blind. And the crazy thing is, the playbook's already written.
Right. For like 5,000 years, the smartest people who ever lived have been writing down what worked, what failed, creating these essentially user manuals for being human.
User manuals for the human condition, tested across empires, economies, wars, you name it. These aren't just dusty old books.
No, they're actionable blueprints. They offer this huge cognitive economy, right? You don't have to figure everything out from scratch.
Think about specific people. Ben Franklin, he didn't just succeed. He left meticulous notes on habits, discipline, the power of compounding small efforts.
Or Darwin. He mapped out adaptation. And those laws, they don't just apply to animals.
Absolutely not. They apply directly to how a business needs to pivot or how you need to adapt your career to survive changes in the market. It's the same underlying principle.
And then you've got the Stoics, like Seneca, writing about mastering fear, staying calm when everything's falling apart around you.
Yeah, I mean, he was writing about psychological resilience during, actual civil war and political terror. Those lessons are maybe more relevant now with information chaos everywhere.
So reading this history, it really is the ultimate shortcut. It's pure mental leverage. You're, what was Munger's phrase? Borrowing compound interest from dead geniuses.
That's the one, and that's the critical point. You get the distilled wisdom, the experience of entire civilizations.
Without paying the horrifying price they paid for those lessons.
Exactly. You get to study the Roman collapse or the Dutch tulip craze or the 1929 crash before you walk into your own version of a bubble or a bad decision.
It's like time compression, isn't it? An hour reading compresses decades of someone else's life, their mistakes, their insights, right into your head.
You're basically time traveling, standing on the shoulders of giants, gaining foresight without the pain.
And the contrast today is just stark. Most people trade this potential wisdom, this huge advantage,
For endless scrolling, drowning in noise, low signal distractions, while the actual answers, the proven strategies, are just sitting there on a shelf, waiting.
Okay, let's dig into this a bit more, because Munger's genius wasn't just reading history. It was how he used it, right?
Yeah, the application was key. His core strategy wasn't some brand new theory he invented.
No, he was taking these old proven principles and weaving them together.
Stitching them together, exactly, into what he called his latticework of mental models. That's the famous phrase.
The latticework. Okay, unpack that. What does that actually mean in practice?
It means Munger knew reality isn't neatly divided like university departments. Finance here, psychology there, history over there.
Right. Life isn't siloed.
Not at all. So to understand anything complex, a business, a market, why people do crazy things, you have to be a generalist. You need to pull lessons from everywhere.
And see it all as one big interconnected map.
Precisely. So it's not enough to just know finance. You absolutely need psychology.
Why? To understand bias, stupidity.
Human bias, irrationality, why people follow the herd, why they panic, all that stuff. Munger studied people like Skinner and Cialdini.
The persuasion stuff. Reciprocity, consistency bias.
Exactly those kinds of models. Knowing they exist helps you anticipate how competitors or customers, or even you yourself, might act irrationally, predictably, based on these deep-seated human flaws, not just based on the spreadsheets.
Okay, so psychology's one thread. What else?
Biology was huge for him, too. Understanding incentives, what really drives behavior, feedback loops, adaptation, like we mentioned with Darwin.
And physics. How does that fit?
Concepts like equilibrium, tipping points, critical mass. These ideas from the hard sciences often have direct parallels in social systems and markets.
But that's kind of the opposite of how we're usually trained, isn't it?
Totally. Modern education, a lot of professional life, it pushes specialization, rewards knowing one thing deeply.
Memorization over synthesis.
Yeah.
Obeying the structure.
Right. But Munger argued, and his success kind of backs it up, that real progress, the big breakthroughs, the massive successes, they often come from generalists, people who can connect the dots across different fields because they aren't stuck in one silo.
They see the whole map, not just one corner of it.
Exactly. Munger saw that every domain, markets, empires, companies, they all follow variations of the same basic story.
The rise, the fall.
The overreach, the consequences, it's a repeating pattern.
Yeah.
So for him, learning history wasn't nostalgia.
It was survival. Using that latticework, built on historical patterns, was just a core survival tool.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate for a second. You hear this argument, things are different now. We've got AI, crypto, global networks moving at light speed.
Right. Isn't history kind of irrelevant when Moore's law dictates the pace? Why care about the 19th century?
That's a fair question, but I think it misses Munger's core point. Technology changes at lightning speed, sure. Exponentially.
Like human nature.
Changes glacially, if at all. The tech might be TikTok instead of the radio. The hot investment might be NFTs instead of railroads.
But the underlying human emotions are the same.
Identical. The fear of missing out. The greed that makes people leverage up too much. The arrogance that always seems to come before a fall. Those are constants. History proves it again and again.
So the latticework, built on those constants, remains relevant no matter how fast the tech changes.
That was Munger's bet, and it seemed to work out okay for him.
Okay, so here's where it gets really practical, I think. Because learning history isn't just about, nodding along and saying, oh, interesting.
No, definitely not. It's about weaponizing it, using it actively in the present.
And Munger's main tool for that was inversion, right?
Inversion. It's such a powerful mental trick because it flips the usual script.
Instead of asking, how do I succeed?
You ask, what are all the ways I could possibly fail? What behaviors guarantee failure? Then you just avoid those things.
You solve problems by looking relentlessly at what went wrong before.
Systematically avoiding the failure points. And history is the giant database for that information.
Every failed investment, every dumb policy, every personal meltdown, it's all data.
Critical, reusable data, if you're willing to collect it and actually learn from it.
So take a financial bubble. If you want to navigate a hot market without getting wiped out.
You don't study the people who got lucky gambling. You study the mechanics of the Dutch tulip mania in the 1630s, or the South Sea bubble, or 1929.
Why those specifically?
Because they show you the classic warning signs. The irrational belief that this time it's different, the crazy leverage, the relaxing of lending standards and morals.
The mass hysteria.
That historical pattern recognition is exactly what let Munger and Buffett look at the dot-com bubble in the late 90s and basically say, nope.
They saw it wasn't some unique tech revolution changing all the rules.
But the same old story of overvaluation and hype, just dressed up in new internet clothes. They weren't surprised by how people acted because they'd read the script countless times before in history books.
Okay, so this systematic study of failure using inversion, it leads to what you call the mental OS upgrade. Munger had that great warning about this.
Oh, yeah. If you can't read the past, you're condemned to act like every fool who came before you. Pretty blunt.
And that's the core of it, isn't it? Most of us are running on, outdated software.
Faulty programming, exactly. Our brains are wired for the Stone Age, right? Quick fear responses, tribal thinking, chasing short-term rewards. Great for avoiding saber-toothed tigers.
Terrible for navigating complex global markets or building long-term trusting relationships.
That's the faulty software Munger was talking about. And reading history deeply is how you start to patch those bugs. Rewrite your own internal code.
You're not just memorizing facts.
No, you're expanding your whole range of understanding human behavior. You're seeing the pitfalls before you fall into them.
And the process of reading itself plays a role here too.
Right.
Right? It forces a kind of silence.
That's crucial. Deep reading forces silence and concentration. It cleanses your mind from the constant barrage of urgent emotional noise that the modern world thrives on.
The noise that keeps us reacting, panicking.
Exactly. Reading lets wisdom take root. It helps you stop freaking out at every headline, operate on a longer time frame, and stay calm while everyone else is losing their minds over yesterday's news.
It's almost like an act of rebellion. The system wants you emotional, reactive, easy to manipulate.
And thinking historically breaks that cycle. You start making decisions based on enduring patterns, not short-term chaos. You compound wisdom instead of reacting to noise.
You shift from being just a spectator, constantly surprised by events,
to becoming more of a strategist, someone who understands the likely script playing out and can act accordingly. You get clarity. You can execute on a plan that lasts longer than the next news cycle.
So pulling this all together, what's the takeaway for someone listening right now?
The smartest people who ever lived, Franklin, Darwin, Seneca, Munger himself, they're still talking to us. They left the playbook.
And by actually engaging with them, by listening, you gain this incredible perspective. You move from being bounced around by chaos to potentially designing better outcomes. Munger built an empire doing this.
He didn't guess the future. He understood the past deeply. And the challenge he left us is really practical.
Make friends with the eminent dead.
That's it. Use their actual work, not just quotes on Instagram, but their books, their writings as your personal advisory board.
Well,
let their hard-won wisdom challenge your assumptions.
Okay, and a final thought to leave people with. Something provocative.
How about this? History isn't actually repeat for the wise. It only repeats for the uneducated, for those who refuse to learn.
By really internalizing the lessons of the past, you gain a kind of insight, a strategic edge.
That no government can tax, no market crash can fully erase. It's a durable form of wealth.
So ask yourself this. What repeating human pattern are you seeing right now, maybe in the markets, maybe in politics, maybe even just in your own habits or anxieties, that was clearly diagnosed and maybe even solved in a book written hundreds or even thousands of years ago?
The answers are there. You just have to be willing to stop scrolling for a bit and actually open the book.